Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Today I'm going to conclude my series on the assignment. And I want to conclude by talking about two extremes that can distract you from your assignment. Number one is comparing yourself to others, looking at what God has called others to. And on the flip side of that, is thinking more highly of yourself than you should. Thinking you're better than, that, maybe you don't like where God has called you to because you should be in the limelight and maybe He didn't call you to that. So let's talk about those two things. First, let's start with comparing ourselves. Galatians 6 verses 4 and 5. Let me read them to you. Pay careful attention to your own work, to your own assignment, for then you will get the satisfaction of a job well done, and you won't need to compare yourself to anyone else, for we are each responsible for our own conduct. This is important, not to compare ourselves to one another. God has called each of us. Each of us belong to the body. Each of us have a different role, a different assignment. If I don't do my assignment, if I don't do what God has called me to do, it impacts the body of Christ. The same with you. If you don't do what God has called you to, if you don't complete your assignment, it impacts all of us. What has God called you to? Focus on that. Don't focus on what sister so-and-so is doing or what brother so-and-so over here is doing. What has God called you to? Stop comparing yourself. Stop trying to do someone else's assignment, but have God examine your heart and do what God has called you to do. Complete your own assignment. Now, the flip side. The flip side, some of us think more highly of ourselves than we ought. Let me read Romans 12:3. Because of the privilege and authority God has given me, I give each of you this warning. This is from Paul. Don't think you're better than you really are. Be honest in your evaluation of yourselves, measuring yourselves by the faith God has given you. So don't measure yourself, don't compare yourself to me, but measure yourself by God, by His standards. Don't think more highly of yourself than you ought to, because when we do that, we're often not satisfied with the assignment that God has called us to. God has given you an assignment. Make sure you complete your assignment. Remember, Jesus set an example for us. Jesus was humble. Jesus said if you wanted to lead, you had to serve. And so many of us, we want the assignment out front. So many of us want to lead. But God says, if you want to be first, you have to be last. If you want to be a leader, you have to serve. Don't think more highly of yourself than you ought. And finally, remember this. God truly has given each of us an assignment. 1 Corinthians 7:17 says, regardless, each one should lead the life that the Lord has assigned to him and to which God has called him. God has called each of us to an assignment. Let us work and complete the assignment that God has given us, because you know what? At the end, we are going to be held accountable. Romans 14:12, let me end on that. It says, so then each of us will give an account of himself to God. We have to give an account for the assignment that we have been given. And let me tell you this. You can rest assured that God will give you everything that you need to complete your assignment. Because as Philippians 1:6 says, we can be confident of this. If we have surrendered ourselves to God and we have accepted our assignment, be confident that He who began that good work in you, He will be faithful to complete it. Have a very, very blessed day.